there's always things there. Everyone's life is hard, for God's sakes, right? I mean, for sure. And there's things to grieve and times where it's more intense than others. So sit up straight and tall, start to feel a little more rather than less. So I don't want to get too far into that because I think it'll be a fascinating discussion. Is it this Wednesday about chat amongst ourselves?
Yeah,
You
Wednesday.
know, yeah. Making space for it, letting it be true, all those things, sharing it collectively, all those things are part of the process of the fertile energy that transforms who and what we are, for sure. So I've been thinking about this weird thing about trying to get better at not thinking about trying to do, like there's this thing about it's from an ancient yogic text. I'm getting this from Richard Freeman. I've said it to you before, but I keep thinking about the same lines over and over because they never stop giving. That something, in order to realize the earth, and don't think about it, the earth in our context. Think about earth in terms of how an ancient might think, a couple thousand years ago, thinking about earth. So don't think about earth with all the environmental extra stuff. Think about it literally as the, right? Right. A few thousand years ago, we kind of knew we kind of grew out of the earth more than we thought we were in dominion over the earth, right? So, but the idea is that something has to drop towards the earth in order for the earth to be truly realized, right? So that seems simple, but dang, right? So one of the things that in centering I've been thinking about or practicing is what's going on. Sure, when I soften my organs of perception, something is dropping. You know what I'm talking about? You know the words I'm putting there. You know what I'm talking when you when you soften the skin on your face, when you soften your jaw, when you get quiet. It's not just that your mind's getting quiet. I mean, don't define everything in terms of what your mind's doing. Feel the sensations that occur when the mind actually quiets. Something does drop. Right? Remember, one of the principles of our method is that you have to go down to go up. Right? You have to go down to go up. So I've been, long story longer, working on recognizing the relate. Usually we talk about softening the forehead and around the temples and the jaw, the inside of the mouth. These are all really good things to do, right? Because then something drops. But lately I've been thinking, wait, how good am I at softening my scalp and like softening the edges? Because I've been thinking about something in pranayama that when you more consciously breathe into you, this is going to sound so effed up. When you more consciously breathe into your face, okay, not directing your breath, but when you allow that breath is getting up underneath your face, it's got really good psychological effects. Okay. Prashanta Iyengar said that one time. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. I'm working on it. I don't think he's a liar. I don't think he's a lying liar that lies. So I try to find teachers that aren't lying liars that lie, right? So I'm sitting there going, okay, how can I let not just all these things where I'm so in my own story with my direct organs of perception, but how do I let there be space between the skin on my scalp and my skull? So now, not just soften around the temples, the jaw, the inside of the mouth, because I'm trying to think about an instruction that I just watched again last night from BK Iyengar in a centering. He says the base of the brain, which happens at about the eyebrows, needs to descend and meet the rise of the core upward. Okay. And he's got his hands in prayer and he's saying that's the intersection right at the center of the chest. Okay. So I'm thinking, how the hell am I going to descend the base of my brain? And all of a sudden I'm like going, wait, I softened my jaw a little bit, but no, it's more than that. I got to feel the outside periphery of my head. And that actually, if I'm being congruent with that, softens my organs of perception. And then he's saying that has to meet that dropping, which is the way you find the earth, right? Human beings get so into like making money and doing this and doing that and having this and having that and doing this that they don't even think about destroying the earth, right? We forget because we're not dropping. So I'm trying to get a drop and the rise through the core. And I want them to be integrated, defining each other. Now my sitting bones, now my feet. That helps both the drop and the rise. And I'm still trying to drop and allow there to be space and air in my head, air between my skin and my skull. And then when I watch the inhalation through the nose, it's not just through the nose, it's creating space between the skin and my face. Everything's touching everything. How do I transform grief? Don't use this space to bypass. Find your spine. If you want to go towards your midline now, bring your hands into prayer. Redo the whole damn thing, right? Don't let one action disrupt other actions. Something's going to happen in this yoga class. I don't know what it is. It's up to you to make it cool. Let go of your day. Prepare your mind to do yoga. Good. And then if your hands are in prayer, release them down to your thighs like snowflakes, right? Soft. Let them touch your thighs. Keep light. And start to now add the fire of the lifted chest. Lift your sternum. Drop your chin, humility. Let them roll into each other like different currents of water. The stuff coming from the brain is more like blue. The stuff coming up through the spine is more like red fire, but gentle. And they mix. Feel your rib cage. You get to be here. Nobody takes that away from you except you. Raise your head up with closed eyes. Open your eyes. So let me tell you a couple of healing stories that I actually watch people have. And then I know they're in the middle of getting thwarted, right? They're thwarting themselves, right? I don't know for sure, but like when someone tries to bypass some grief they're about to have or some pain they're about to have, and they say, well, in 100 years, who's going to care? Okay. Right. That is true. It's insignificant in the scheme of infinity. Pretty much what you're feeling right now is insignificant for sure. That is tautologous. That's like self-evidently true. That's jumping to air way too fast, to spaciousness to bypass, right? Even if it's true, it's tautologically true, but yeah, it's actually insignificant. The other one, those people that jump, I hate to like throw people in California under the bus, but I lived there for a while, and there's this tendency in California to that. And it's not just California. Have you ever been around a super new agey person? Right. And they're talking and they're just like, holy hell. And they've jumped to the air. They regret having a body. They think they're hindered by the fact that they're corporeal. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on that's like, oh, for F's sake. I don't know why the mind has to keep, in order to feel transcendence, has to ditch our biological nature. I have no idea. But what a bummer. Right? Like, I don't know. Yeah. So biology isn't always exactly aesthetically beautiful, but holy cow, it's effective. Right? It gets us here. So it's like, but so that's another jump to air too fast. Right? So air for temporarily can evaporate water, but how do you transform? You ever thought of your grief more as water that needs to move? Kind of cool that your eyes let it out as tears, right? So it's not entrenched. If you avoid it long enough, the earth, it turns into earth and it gets too dry and it gets really caked and hard. It ain't going nowhere and nothing's going to grow. And like Liz was saying, it's you're not gonna be able to feel and get plants to grow out of it. You're not gonna be able to feel the joy. It gets too hard, right? If you try to bypass it and pretend the earth's not there and let it be just air, you're just bypassing, right? You found a way to try to deaden what you feel, right? Right. But if you want to get things to move and grow, it needs air. But think about what it is to aerate soil, right? You dig it up and turn it over. You get air in there, you get some water in there, and what comes out? Like life comes out, right? A little sprig of green, little something starts popping out, and it's a freaking miracle, and it starts out real small. So how do you set the conditions for all the elements to process grief? Holy cow. What's he talking about now? Final piece signpost. Twists help grief. What? So when grief gets hard and immovable, right? Doesn't part of you get really static, frozen in place? You don't even know part of you's frozen. You don't even know part of you's paralyzed until it starts to move again. All right. So how the hell might grief transform the deadened energy? It doesn't, when you grieve, after you grieve, you kind of feel like you're coming back to life. Right. So there's this line that I read when I was first doing yoga and having tons of grief, right? From Toni Morrison's Beloved. It's a scene where a woman's walking away from slavery. The metaphorical dimension of this little snippet by Toni Morrison is so freaking amazing, right? She's walking away from slavery. She's about to collapse. Her feet are just horribly in trouble and she's exhausted and she's walking from the south to the north and she lays down by a river to collapse to die. And suddenly a white woman jumps out of the bushes and starts to rub her feet and starts to sing a song and starts to kind of massage her feet back to life. And she says to her, nothing's as painful as coming back to life. Right? Huh. So what about a twist? Might be simultaneously cleansing and coming back to life. And what energy is it making dynamic again? All right, we better do some yoga. Has anyone got an answer to that? Except, can't you feel it? Can't you feel the part that needs to open a window? You know how Poppy said grief is always there, kind of? Yeah, you got a window of stale air, right? Right? So I'm just going to rock back and forth because I like rhythm for a second as I've, used all these freaking words. So I'm going to go back and forth. And I saw Bill take his arms wide, get bigger for a second. Maybe like let your chest open. I'm going to do what my shoulder really hurts today. But so I'm going to open up here. So I'm taking one arm back. So I'm trying to get this more open. I was going to teach about inversions today too, for God's sakes. Take the other arm back. This is not what I planned at all, right? And then I'm going to leap a little bit because I like to remember when I get too many words. Like, can you imagine how many words are going through my head all the time? Like, I forget to move and stuff. Forget to and then where's that little bit? Does anyone, maybe you don't have this, but does anyone start to feel the joy of like being able to jump just a little? And I don't mean off the ground. Like, I mean like there's little pop, little pop, pop. Like, and it's when I start getting this kind of goofy, it just humbles my intellect, right? It just humbles my intellect. It's like, oh, for God's sakes, all these freaking words, and you forgot that you can just jump like a little. Ever seen a little Mexican jumping bean jump a little bit? I was horrified when I was a little kid when I found out those are little worms in there, little parasites that make it jump. I just thought the bean could jump, right? So I'm going to take up some space because I want to activate the air. Right? What? I'm not just stretching. I'm taking my legs wide now. I'm trying to activate air. So I was just talking to my teacher this weekend, Joe Zukovich, about why going upside down and the air you get when you go upside down matters to how you realize grace, right? So I'm taking my legs wide and I'm just like moving. I do this every time because I need to like get there. I like doing this when I start out because in my practice, because I want my groins to be slightly more open, because I want the base of my spine to have more air. And so then I'm like using rhythm, kind of bouncing up and down, but I'm wanting to make sure that I'm not just moving my upper body. I'm trying to coordinate my sitting bones, my groins, my knees, this triangle. I don't have my camera right, but this triangle between my knees and my tailbone. I'm trying to get there to be rhythm, space, and air, right? I'm trying to get it to be more open, right? Because I want the base of my spine to feel freedom. Because when I lift my chest, I want to bring the base of my spine with it, right? So now, because I've opened my groins a little bit and I got my more input for my body here, for my mind, pardon me, I can start moving and feel more connected to my whole body because I'm trying to wake up my spine, because I'm trying to wake up the energy, the static energy that needs to find air and earth and fire, right? I need to get that energy that I've been carrying. Believe me, I've been grieving. By the way, doesn't it seem like I've been gone forever? It seems like I've been gone forever. I haven't been with you for a while, right? So I feel that too. I'm fine, by the way. I'm gonna make it, right? So I'm moving around again, right? I'm just gonna get bigger for a second. Ah, damn it, there's my sore shoulder. It's not gonna kill me. No babies are dying, right? But I'm gonna feel it again. I'm gonna visit it and go, yeah, that's one of the places that makes me collapse. Right here, right there. Gets heavy really fast. Yeah, and it makes my neck shorten and all this shit starts to happen because it's so hard to be in my body as it is yours, right? Right? There are things that just kind of hurt. They just hurt. Damn it. Yeah. And by the way, I'm not poking fun at myself. My body does just hurt, right? It's actually just true. Ah, all right. But no matter how much I hurt, my bones are underneath that, right? There's a part of me that's underneath all that. And that's what I'm trying to find right now. I'm trying to get that thing. By the way, life isn't just serious. You need to keep whispering that in my ear, by the way. Matt, it's not so freaking serious. You don't have to like think it all the way through all the time. Right? All right. Sit up straight and tall. And so elongate. I want to do a little bit of dog pose because one of the things you want to twist, one of the things that people don't get the grief benefits of twists is that they don't elongate their spine enough before they twist. You need to get more space in your spine, right? So now I'm hitting my sitting bones back. So I'm in a version of dog pose. I'm hitting my sitting bones back and I'm lifting through my sternum at the same time, right? Now, I want you to think about what creates air and space, right? So if I keep my arms together and I let this as I lengthen my low back, which is a good start. It's not a bad start, right? It's a good start, but don't just notice that chances are your collarbones are kind of collapsing towards each other, right? So I'm hitting my sitting bones down. I'm lengthening to my chest, but now I want to broaden across my collarbones. And can you see why I always say broaden the space between your shoulder blades? Right? 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 When you do that, can you feel how that's making space? Right? Now broaden across your sacrum, make more space. And use that space to feel your legs, especially you paraplegics out there. Helps you feel your legs, for God's sakes. But it helps everybody feel their legs. Right? But I'm making space and I'm using my will. How is that possible? Good. And then release. I'm using my will to make space, but space feels like freedom. Wait, this is all confusing. I'm a little bit confused, right? So now I'm going to come forward again. Now I'm going to add some more will, but I'm going to add earthy will. Remember, something has to drop towards the earth. And once you feel it connected to the earth, all of a sudden the sky gets way bigger, right? And all of a sudden a whole bunch of things get way more beautiful, right? So now I'm gonna find earth by leaning forward using gravity, right? I'm gonna go on my own forearms. Can I tell you something else that's all fucked up? Like, I can't believe this is true. And I don't know if it's true for you. So I shouldn't even say this. But when I lean forward and put my bones on my bones, right? My forearms on my thighs, right? I'm pretty sure I can feel the earth a little bit better when I do that. So this is the preparation. This is what I was going to teach, right? So this is the preparation for headstand. Like you get a triangle here, you put your head in there, you go upside down, right? But here's the thing I can't believe. It makes me super happy. And if you can do this, if you can't, don't worry about it. But if you can put your fingers together, like you would be setting up for headstand, and you move the webbing of your fingers toward each other, right? Does anyone feel their lower abdomen and down to the base of their spine? What the hell, Chuck? There's hope in here. And once I start feeling that, I start to feel my legs differently. And I can almost imagine going upside down because suddenly the energy, without me doing anything except this, is going from my head to my legs. Right? And so when you're doing that, lift your sternum. Go the other way. Holy cow. I think yoga might be miraculous. I think there are things and resources here I didn't know. And then release. The webbing of my between my fingers reveals my legs. Who the hell's in charge here? Arms wide. Take up space. See, now my shoulder's not pissing me off as much. What the hell? Oh, there it goes. Yeah, I got a brief respite, but now it's tensing up in my neck. Yeah, there's my part of me that works too hard. No wonder my collarbone is so freaking sore on my right side. Good, because when I start to wane, something grips without me knowing. Static grief, static grief, static grief. Static grief, static grief, static grief. So I'd take some time here and whatever, when you had your arms wide, did you find the place that kind of tensed up? Just for a second, I'm gonna, right here for me, it's right here. It's these muscles right here underneath my collarbone. I'm just gonna give them a little rub. Gonna go like, hey, maybe a little slowed down time here, a little company back to Liz's point, right? Little company helps it transform, right? I'm gonna go like, hey, you don't have to hold the whole shit together by yourself, right? You don't have to hold it all together, only most of it together. And then once I do that, I start to feel the spot that hurts out here. So I've got all this stuff starting to say, if you're gonna give me some time, I'm gonna show you where I hurt, right? Now I could feel bad about hurting for sure. Some days I do that, right? Other days I'm like, dang, man, maybe a little voice here. So I'm gonna take one arm behind me, just doing this because I want to, right? And I'm gonna open, take one arm behind you and open right here. Holy cow. There's some crankitis. It's cranky in there, right? But so I think that it doesn't have to be alone. I'm going to do the other side, right? I'm going to get, and by the way, when you take one arm behind you, I'm doing it behind my wheelchair, you're already twisting, right? Trick, 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 trick. So now I'm opening here and I feel more spacious here. I want it to, that spaciousness to start to leak in like water over to here. I want water to show me space in my shoulder. Where, I'm talking about my shoulder, but you could be talking about anything you wanted. What are you holding static? Because you're holding grief without processing it. Wow, I've got a lot of grief in my rib cage. Oh, and it's right by my lung. And so, they say lungs are one of the keys to grief, like in Chinese medicine. That makes sense to me right here, right at this second. Got a whole bunch of stuff. This lung collapsed in the accident. So then I'm going back the other way. And I'm reminding that and now I'm actually making it more a twist. See, like I don't even know what I'm doing because I just do it. Now I'm grabbing my wheelchair seat, creating the earth, taking the arm behind me, making space in this shoulder to keep this shoulder company. And then what about my legs? Can my legs enter this? I think it can. So now we're trying to rehabilitate my right lung because it holds an injury that's old. right? And now I'm going the other one, grabbing my seat, finding the earth, opening it up, making space, and letting the water move from my torso. By the way, your intestines are full of water, just so you know. It's a lot of water and that in your lungs, right? I'm letting that go into my shoulder. Good, and then release. And then I'm going to take a second, I'm going to pause. And I don't know about you, this is more on my body than yours, but I'm feeling like spacious in my chest. Is anyone else feeling a little bit more space in my chest, right? In your chest from those little bit of twists? Yes, no, anyone? Is anybody with me? Yes, okay. So now I'm going to make sure that makes it back to the earth, right? I'm going to take this spaciousness as an imprint and I'm going to ground my legs, right? So I'm going to create a stream from the earth. Remember that river banks are just the earth guiding the water, right? So I'm going to make a stream and I'm going to bring more alignment here. So this core creates the riverbanks. And I'm going to connect it to this spacious freedom I feel because I'm underneath the pain in my shoulder into the space in my shoulder. And I'm helping it, the earth support it. Oh my God. I need to remember my skull and my scalp. I need to remember there's other resources here. Breathe. When you get space in your body, those damn walking around people, they waste so much space. Oh, for God's sakes, they're like drunken sailors. They have all this space and they don't even know what's going on, right? It's like have all this easy movement and they think, oh my God, I don't have the right piece of toast. And it's like, my God, you've already won just by having all the space. So I like what Liz is doing here. She just grabbed her wrist that is a little bit tight and she's making space in her wrist, right? Like she's like, is that correct, Liz? You're like touching it to make it like, and what she's doing, that's in a way, Liz is, I'm guessing her wrist is like my shoulder, right? So she's taking the space she just opened up and she's giving boundary to the wrist so it enters the empty space of the wrist. So instead of fighting the wrist, right, Liz, like when you try to fight it open during your day and stuff, you're getting it to receive right now. And there was an easier way, right? You didn't have to fight your wrist all the time. I fight parts of my body all the time.
And when I do it easier, I feel it all the way in my elbow.
Yeah. It's goodness gracious. And that's the thing for joy. When I realize I've been working one part of my body trying to hold the world together too much, I feel grief. But it's happy grief, right? It's like it makes my tears come but a little bit, but it's like, damn, my shoulder's tired. Now I'm doing the other wrist, right? Because I'm following Liz's advice to keep the whole universe company, right? Like company holds it, right? So I got the thing that, and by the way, I broke the crap out of this wrist too. So I got injuries in that one too that are old. So I'm making sure my other wrist, which is also broken, but it's differently broken. So I'm making sure. So now I'm going back from wrist to wrist. And wait, maybe the center of my chest can keep it company. Right? So Ellie's going from finger to finger doing the same thing. She's being smart. I'm seeing people applying it, what I'm talking about. Now, what do you think the twist does? What is entered by the twist and in making this space and feeling the stuff that's overworking and recognizing that you've been holding static energy and the window needs to open. You need to get some of the stuck air out and you need to let some different air in. What do you think that, and I'm going to put my hand on my chest because I know all this needs to come from the seat of consciousness, which is the center of my chest. But the seat of consciousness needs the life of the base of the spine too. So if I had more arms and I could balance, I'd be touching my chest, I'd be touching my sacrum, I'd be holding myself up without falling over. So instead, I'm just going to feel where the base of my spine is, keep my chest open and keep my wrists like with company and let my shoulders actually not be in charge. I'm going to like try to let it all be here at once. And I'm still asking myself, what does the actual twisting of the spine introduce? Right? So you think about it. I remember early on, people, because twists, if you do a lot of them like really intensely, you actually get a weird sweat too. So like if you do a lot of twists after eating garlic fettuccine, you'll smell garlic come out through your sweat, right? Like it's intense. It's kind of like a dish rag, right? It kind of cleanses. It wrings out the water, right? So it lets things out. But the squeezing and the turning is dynamic, right? So you want to have the spaciousness that we've been working for. I've been traveling through time, right? Finding different injuries on my body, finding where there's stuff. Hopefully you've been doing something like that, right? And you got the space. And I got to remember to not have this all be serious because I'm going to jump a little bit like the little kid that likes to skip and shit. Like I want to remember stuff. Want to remember that I don't always have to be a serious adult all the time, right? I don't have to, I can see like Becca's like finding the sensual space too, which is part of like the becoming, right? It's all of the stuff, right? Yeah, I'm watching a lot of you. You have no idea. I'm sneaky. I'm sneaky, right? And so now I'm going to enter the dynamic. I'm going to enter this part that travels through the freedom, the air of the empty space, makes the water come out of the dish rag and drop back down to the earth. Because guess what? The earth can hold your grief. Can you imagine all the stories that the earth has witnessed? All of them, every single one. You're afraid of your grief. The earth is not. Right? The earth is not. All right, here we go. Got to get some lightness in here, right? Because I get serious as soon as I hear about grief. I'm going to lengthen my back a little bit. Whew. And I get to have all sorts of levels of twists. I get to twist my spine from the outside in, from the inside out, dynamic. I get to choose all these different freaking twists. So now I'm sitting here with hopefully more of my time in the room right now, knowing that the window's going to open. So I'm going to do a gentle twist, right? I'm going to take that right arm outside the left leg. And I take the other arm behind me. This is the one you throw away all the time. And usually I tell you to auger it down, right? Because I want you to find the earth. But now I want you to auger it down with a smile, right? Like, wait, I'm about to help myself transform, right? I've got my hand on one of my legs, so I'm getting the earth there. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, revolve. And so like, but I don't want you to hold, I want you to feel like I can't help it. My image is a sprinkler that rotates and water's flying out the back of the sprinkler, right? So you're swinging around a sprinkler like a lasso, and you're spraying the water out behind you from your spine, right? Make it dynamic. Now lengthen your sternum as you inhale, lift up, exhale, revolve. Don't just squeeze the twist. Lengthen and open the twist, right? Good, and then come on back to center. You want to be twisting space, deadened space, frozen space. You want to have it turn into water, and you want to let it drop back towards the earth. Inhale, on an exhalation, take the other hand to the side. Find the earth, find your own grounding points, right? Find your own grounding points. Ooh, there's my shoulder that's tired. right? Yeah, so I'm going to get underneath it. So now, like, I'm traveling through the places I carry grief. I can feel stuff, right? It's okay. I'm about to make it dynamically move, like the water out of the dishcloth, right? Inhale, lift up, exhale, revolve. I'm moving more than just my spine. I'm making my spine dynamically shift the space that the grief festers in. Inhale, lift up, exhale, revolve. And then come on back to center. Now, it's easy to think, oh, twists help grief, so I'm just going to twist harder. That would be a mistake, right? But I want you to get more earth in the next twist. But I want you to get the twist without too much will, right? So I want you to come forward. I'm gonna now see, now that I've got this thing about the webbings of my fingers, I've got this whole thing, weird thing going on, right? Where all of a sudden, as soon as I put the web of my fingers together, I got my legs. I've got the earth because my forearms are hitting my thigh bones, right? But now I'm gonna do upward facing dog a little bit. Here comes the earth, and that's where I get my will, right? But then I'm gonna open between the shoulder blades and find this space, lift under the collarbones, elongate. I'm not gonna take my head back because I can tell them this morning that's a bridge too far. But if you want to take lengthen from your sternum to your chin, go ahead, right? And you're just like finding your strength and then release. So upward facing dog makes me feel where my strength is. And it actually, my strength tends to grow out of the earth, not out of the air, right? Ground again, elongate, lift up, right? Broaden across the collarbones. But the space between the shoulders, find your sitting bones. Breathe, right? So now I'm going to lean forward. This is a twist we do a lot, right? So now we're twisting more near the midline. So I'm grabbing my opposite knee. Remember, but stay with the space between on your scalp and your skull. Stay open, keep space, because we're going into a harder twist, right? We're going into a harder twist, right? And a more contained twist, right? And that has more earth in it. So now I'm gonna ground down here, lift my sternum and twist and let it be dynamic, right? But I want to keep the air. I want to keep the space on my scalp, between my skull and my scalp. I want to keep space because I want to transform the stuck energy near the core. Lift under the collarbones and find the joy. Breathe and come on back to center. Be in the center. So this twist is in a smaller room. That's what I mean by smaller room, right? So in some ways it's more dynamic, but it's not as easy not to overuse your will. So I'm grounding here, I'm grabbing here, I'm grabbing somewhere on my chair, right? So now I'm gonna find the earth, find upward facing dog and start to twist, knowing that I'm trying to move the air, the static air, and I'm trying to make it more like water, earth, water, dynamic twist of squeezing the dish rag. Lift under the collarbones to find the hope. And then release. So now I'm going to introduce more air. I'm going to take my legs wide. I'm going to let it be more spacious now. I'm going to lean over. I'm going to let the water rush to different places. Right? I'm going to find the earth and I'm going to twist. And I'm twisting the spaces that things get stuck in. Breathe. Good, and then come on back to center. And then go the other way. Right? I've got space now. I've got more air. Got the earth. And I'm going to start to make it dynamic by twisting my spine. Letting the water have water pressure and go out. The water moves the space, the air. Good, and then release. Grounding here for a second. Getting quiet. Legs back together. In order to come home, truly come home, this is what the class was also going to be about, from Unforgettable Fire, right? In order to truly come home, you have to go on a journey, right? Now I'm coming home to my midline. And I'm knowing all the places I've been. Even if I get the relief in glimpses, see what's great about, for me, this class is I'm feeling my shoulder differently. And I got the energy to change. You don't always have to cry to process grief. You don't always have to go to the really, really hard space. You can, but you don't have to. Thing about your own grieving process, right, is you control the pace. You control the how. You control the when. Most, unless you're in wild denial, right? All right. Start to feel your center, like the side to side, because just like the earth has witnessed a whole bunch of stuff, right? Your symmetry is still there. So find each foot, find each sitting bone. Soften the jaw, the inside of the mouth. So this is where you're not trying to be dynamic with the twist. You're trying to let, and here we can rest safely. Dave Matthews, right? I have my hand up like this because I'm trying to let myself rest safely. And then really try to let in the support of your chair. I hope you're get better at doing that. Letting something else hold you up. So I descend in Savasana, the places in my shoulder that barking are definitely barking. Right? Just gonna pass through that. Inside the mouth stays soft. There's space in my head. Earth is holding me up. There's water in the torso. And the spark of life, the ember still flows in the center of my chest. Your limbs are like rivers. Let them flow. Feel your breath. Don't change it. Thank your body. Notice the hope underneath. Let that support your mind. Start to bring yourself back. Slightly deeper inhalation. Slightly longer exhalation. When you're ready, open your eyes and let the light in. Close them if you want. You're in charge of pace. Open them again. Notice your breath. It touches everything. All right, I had something I wanted to say during Savasana and I forgot what it was. So, oh well. So I'll stay on for a while. Probably it'll come back to me because I thought it mattered at the time. But I can't think of it right now. All right, hands together. Namaste. Spirit in me bows to the spirit in you. Almost had it. Had to do with grief, for God's sakes. But don't forget, at some point, kind of like after a good cry, you have to get up and do the dishes, right? You have to move. And then the moving becomes part of the self, right? The moving becomes part of the self. And by the way, oh, I know what it was. In the end of Waking, in the paperback version of Waking, I wrote an afterword. And in the afterword, one of the lines that sticks with me from 2008 or 9, whenever I wrote it, is that, and this is hard, I don't know if this is true, but it sounds good. Hearts don't break, minds do. Right. And that I was trying to say in that little section that your heart already knows what it is to lose. So it's the anticipation of grief that breaks the mind, not the actual processing of grief. Processing of grief is the freedom, right? But the mind has all these things hung up against it, all these defenses about it. But in fact, grief is like a river that releases, right? Something's been blocking the flow like a stick or a log, and then all of a sudden it gets into the current and it moves again, and you realize, oh my God, I didn't need to be stuck by that log, right? It could have been something else. All right, everybody. I'll stay on if you have any comments. Otherwise, have a good week. Plan is to be here next week.